Hey guys, it's me, Belair. We just had all the flooring in our apartment redone, so our apartment's a little bit of a mess right now. So you're getting the hand cam here, but look, great conversation that I had the other day with Nick, who is the head coach of GK. Had a great conversation about the Birmingham Major and a lot of great stuff about teams that he's coached in the past, some philosophy, some X and O's. So really appreciate Nick giving me time out of his day to talk after getting home from Birmingham. Really hope you guys enjoy the episode, and until next time, guys, take it easy.
What's going on, guys? Belair here, Need Boost Podcast. We have a very special guest. We have guests on from time to time, and it's like, oh, look at you bringing your friends on. But we have GK's coach, Nick, formerly Dignitas Falcons M80 fame. Nick, you're just coming back from Birmingham where you guys had a top 8 finish. How are you doing? How's the jet lag treating you?
I've slept a lot, and then I went out drinking with friends yesterday, so my voice still sounds horrible from the Dignitas series.
I
There's been
was
zero recovery. Yeah.
we I sent you a message as we were planning this, and I was sitting on my couch watching the major, and my girlfriend walks into the room and she's like, "Who are you watching yell on TV?" And I was like, "No, it's Nick behind." You were really hyped up for that series. Was that a little extra juice to get over the round 5 jitters, or what was your mindset with that?
I'm just naturally a very, very loud person.
I
Um,
asked you to stop yelling when you entered our podcast chat here. You were like, "What's
yeah, no,
up?" And I was like, "Dude, you need to calm down. Like, this is a
I gotta
chill."
save some of my voice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think it worked. I don't think my team is incredibly loud people, and I think it helps I'm louder than all four of the Dignitas guys combined.
Yes.
I think that's probably the American in me. So I've always been super emotional, hard on my sleeve, for good and for bad as a coach. But in a LAN setting, especially in a studio setting, I think it works really well. Um, Also, it's Dignitas, so there probably is a little bit more like personal sentiment there to win that series.
Yeah.
Because also, like I think I said in the interview after, like it's Dignitas, like we should be winning that, and we were really struggling to just like get going. And pretty often, what happens with us is we're very like a momentum based team. So if we're going up, 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 it's great. We're not gonna fall, but it's really easy to enter that like sliding slope down and just not recover from it, which is kind of how we start some series, and then you saw it in regional 1 and 2. We just couldn't get out of those areas.
And there's that extra piece of it where, like you said, that connective tissue to Dignitas, it's a big series for you, not only from an org perspective, but also you've coached several of the players there, and I want to talk about that in a bit, but I did want to pull the curtain back a little bit for anybody listening because I've been to one major. There's some people listening who might have been to a couple or none, but what none of us are exposed to is that studio setting, which must be very bizarre. What would you say is like the situation? Is it cold? Is it loud? Is it awkward? Is there a ton of moving pieces, or is it pretty stripped back? Like, what is that environment like?
I mean, this is the first one that it wasn't hot as hell.
Okay,
Usually, like, cause they have like LED lights behind you,
sure.
like the fluorescent green. Every other major I've been to, they are absolutely scalding hot,
Just
and
sweating
pretty much
buckets.
every, yeah, man, every org gives you like a hoodie to wear, and you're like, Jesus Christ, like I'm gonna die out here. Um, this one was normal. The studio is basically like the little room. They're all next to each other, side by side by side, and then the walkways in front, which is how you see like us go over to shake hands and stuff. You can pretty much hear everything, like if someone scores. And it's even funnier in the practice rooms. You can hear every goal. You can
Yeah.
hear the screams before it happened. There's only like two or three teams that didn't scream, so you'd be like, "Oh, I guess that's a goal now." When you're
Mm.
watching it on stream, everyone else you would just play the game of like, "Oh, is that Falcons yelling?" No. Is that Complexity yelling? Definitely not them because they don't yell. But that's all you have to do is just guess over and over in the studio. But I don't know. Some of it's tilting. Some of it's annoying. Drawley's really loud when he scores because he'll just keep going during the replay, and he sounds like a chicken. Um, I'm really loud because it tends to work most of the time as well because it's really obnoxious to hear someone screaming every single goal.
just kind of
But
tilts you on the other side.
yeah, I mean, that's not the point of it. It's just a pure emotional, like, it's nice to score. It's nice to get something going.
I've been
But
curious about that, if I could ask, because I'm
yeah,
sure there's philosophical differences, and maybe it's based on the team and the players that you have on your team. But Rocket League is such like you can get so like tight, especially in big moments. So it's important to let out that energy, but also you don't want to get like so overhyped that you kind of maybe psych
lose
yourself
it.
out. Where do you draw the line between like, guys, let's be really animated for goals, but also let's not like, totally lose ourselves?
I think there's a lot of theory based on it. Like when we worked with Michelle on M80, there's like a full scale of like what window does everyone operate best in, from like completely calm to completely like nonsensical hype. I think with this team, we're probably on a bit more of the calmer side, and we just let the emotion naturally take us up. I've always been a very, very loud, like overexcitable person, like even in traditional sport. Uh, Sometimes it works, sometimes it carries me over the line, sometimes it carries me a little bit too far past that line, and that's fine. Um, I almost think talking about it in that much depth of like, oh, we're not gonna celebrate this, or we are like, I think it hurts you more so than anything. You're thinking about how to celebrate rather than just take your breath, and now we focus on the kickoff again. Like, I think the infamous line from my queso days was "Watch the fake, watch the Spanish," because I'd say that after every kickoff. But then again, people weren't calling kickoff shots back then. Now every single kickoff's a kickoff shot. So I think that's kind of the easiest way to humble ourselves and just go, okay, now we need to focus again. But especially at the major, no goals skipped. Like, you have so much time. It's probably around like 10, 15 seconds. That's plenty of time to just get the celebration out and then just calm down. Like, I was dapping the guys up because it just takes us out of the moment for a second. And we're a team that, like, the have fun meta, it's unfortunately back for us, where we all just enjoy what we're doing, and I think it's when we play the best as a team.
It's good to hear your perspective on it because it's something I've always been curious about, especially as like I'm a big NBA fan and you
Yeah,
can glean quite a bit from watching timeouts or the way the guys carry themselves on the court. And with the RLCS, I'm always curious to watch face cams of the team who gets scored on because there's some teams where it's like they almost like go offline, it seems, where they don't look at each other, they don't talk, they're just like staring into the void while the replay plays. And from the outside looking in, I'm always like, that's got to be a negative. Like, you kind of need somebody to be like, okay, guys, like, let's level set and get back on. Otherwise, you just sit in it, and that's got to be a negative, I would assume.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of players that have like little tells on their face cam when they're like fully tilted, where it's just like little face grabs or sighs, or like head in hands is the most obvious one. But
Yeah.
there's so many like, oh, you can just tell, yeah, he's done for the series.
Some people really carry it. One of them who in over the course of this major, I've thought started really hot and then kind of dipped off, and we can talk about him a little bit later as well. But Jorius seemed like he just got completely sideways. Nothing was going his way. Monkey Moon's the classic one where you can instantly tell like the full tilt back, just like stare
Yeah,
at the sky. Like it's like, all right, he's kind of feeling it. But yeah, your team is really quiet, generally speaking. I know that Archie has taken a big step up as a leader. That's something you talked about on your YouTube channel. But for anybody listening who's been living under a rock, you guys had a really great split. I don't know if you knew this. You're the only team with a plus 200 shot differential. So you guys were lighting people up, especially during the online portion, even a higher differential than a team like Carmine Corp, who had one of the most impressive splits I've seen in a long time. You guys end up third in goals for, third in goals against. So pretty solid offensively, stingy defensively, exactly how you want it. And then you guys end up going checkerboard in Birmingham here, win loss, win loss, win loss. Um, what was kind of your feel going into this? I feel like the community sentiment from the outside looking in was everybody. The big question for GK was Open 3 a fluke or not? Did you guys feel pressure from that, or was it kind of just like outside noise that was easy to, you know, silence?
No, to be honest, like we had a lot of like frustrations and like the lead up, like mainly with like SEL and stuff like this, where it's just like we just wanted a break, and then we had to play that, and SEL is the worst ran tournament ever. Um, where you get on for 3 hours to play two best of fives against champs, and it's like Jesus, like that alone kills your momentum every single time.
Yeah.
I mean, coming in, your goal is to win. I think if you're a team from like NA or EU or like a Furia or either of the MENA teams, the goal has to be to win no matter what. I think coming into the season, we felt like we were third in Europe. I think right now we're probably third in Europe. I think we also probably have the best chance to consistently beat KC out of anyone in Europe.
Mm.
And if you're beating KC, like,
Sky's the limit.
Yeah, like even our series against KC, we went 2-0 up in game one, then we instantly held 3 goals and we just shut down. We lose to OT, we win game two. Game three and four, I don't really remember, but it felt very reminiscent of the 2 times we played them in Swiss online, where the first 2 games were matching their level and in my opinion were better than them, and we should have had like the full on grip on the series 2-0 up. We're in full control, and I felt the same against the NRG series as well. Or no, against KC we got battered in game two, but it was game one and three we played really well in. And it's like, yeah, these are the games that where you even say we have all these shots, we're still not executing at quite the same level that we should be, where it's just okay, we need to be putting some of these in the net and just shutting the game down. And it's frustrating. A lot of the times, like when we're playing poorly, we'll just start slowing the game down too much, and I don't think that's anything crazy. As I think we're just not taking the chances. But if we have this base to build off, I think it's probably pretty clear stats wise and now points wise, we're third in Europe. We should be coming in and expecting ourselves to improve more and more because our first 2 regionals sucked. Like you said, we had a good split. We had a good end to the split. We did not have a
Statistically
good
split. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know that because you had talked about those frustrations even after you guys beat Dignitas in that round 5, and you're talking to Veracity as a team. Which, by the way, I like that you guys do the team interviews. It's kind of like an OKC Thunder kind of deal. But one of the things that Oolie said is that you guys start slow pretty regularly, and 2 questions. A, I'm curious if you think that there is truth to that statement, but B, there's more of this like philosophical question. When I heard Oli ask that, I thought, I wonder if Nick, as the coach, because your job is to kind of steer the ship, help them mentally. They kind of handle the play, of course. You can only do so
yeah.
much on the pitch, but when there's kind of a routine, a similarity, something that plagues your team, are you trying to fight and change that? Or is it more just kind of like, we will let that be? We know that we're a slow starting team generally, so it is what it is.
I mean, we are trying to figure it out. A lot of our issues almost come from mentality rather than just like, oh, we're not playing bad. But it's like
As
I
with a
said
lot of
earlier, like,
teams, right? That's
yeah, where we just need to like increase into a series, and that's something we have to fix. That we can't just rely on a brilliant moment that now we're emotionally invested. But I mean, I think a lot of teams have had this issue. Like it's not something new, but to just say, "Oh yeah, we're just gonna leave it," like you can't keep going down 2-0 in series.
we know we're gonna
Like I think,
start slow, yeah.
yeah, like I think when we won the regional, it kind of helped having redemption first because we're always gonna 4-0 or 4-1 them, and it's really easy to just take that momentum, go go go, and it's the same thing against Dig. We won 7-1 in that first game, and when we won the regional, and it's just easy to keep that going.
And I know that we talked about the checkerboard. You guys had a pretty tough draw. You get the rematch against Casey. Like you said, that game one, you end up getting into overtime because Joyo from the back right corner gets the musty over to Archie and Oli almost knock each other off of the ball, but it like just so happens to fortuitously
Fly
go
in.
in.
Yeah.
When you get that moment, it's got to be like validating mentally. You're like, all right, we're here, we're hanging on. And then you lose that OT. I think a lot of people think that when we talk about the mentality, like I was playing a little Rocket League this morning, and it's like you lose a game, and I think fans look at it and they're like, oh man, they lost an OT. Like they must have just been toast. But I feel like, especially this team, they're older relative to kind of the crowd. They've all been around, they've been to majors, and also there's that connective tissue of Archie and Joyo have played together, Joyo and Oolie have played together, Archie and Oolie have played together. So like, is it easier to kind of have a little bit of that history together to just be like, all right, like we know what we're trying to do. You're not overwhelmed by overtime. I have a ton of questions, so I'm trying to fit them in
Yeah.
here, but I'm tripping over myself. Do you know what I mean though?
Yeah. I don't know. It kind of is just one of those situations where once you've done it, it becomes a lot easier. And because these guys have had so many comebacks and we've done so many insane things as a
Yeah.
team, right? But it's a lot easier to just look back on situations. Like I kind of think about with Queso. You remember how we were like known as like the game 5, game 7 team?
Oh yeah.
We started 1-7 in game 5s. Like we lost our first 6 and they all would have put us into like top 8s or top 4s and stuff. And no one ever mentions that because it's so hard to like kind of believe in yourself if you haven't done it. And now that we have done it, life's easy.
Hmm.
And you're always going to have that memory of going, "Oh no, I've done it with these guys. It's fun." Because once you get one, you're golden. We struggled to get the one a lot of the times, especially in the first 2 regionals where it was just like the game 5 against 100% for seeding. We bottle that. The game 5 against General Mates to go top 6 in regional 1 that would have put us in a much better spot. We bottled that, and we were 2-1 up that series as well, if I remember correctly. Regional 2, I don't really remember. It was NIP we played, and I think we could have beat them in uppers as well. And it was just like, all we could keep thinking about was it's the same thing happening over and over and over, whether it was Swiss or the regional. And all it takes is one moment that it just breaks and you're golden, right? The floodgates got to open.
Yeah, kind of this like here
Until
we
you
are
do that.
again, like
Yeah.
can't get over it.
Until you do that, I don't think it's really a mentality thing or not mentality, probably a maturity thing. Like even if they've been together, like we saw last split, like or last season, Yoris and AJ are some of the most like veteran pros in the scene, and they still couldn't get over the top 8 hump. And I was part of that too. And I've been God knows how many series. It's not something that just happens until you can kind of make it happen yourself.
As a coach with a situation like M80, I even think about a player like First Killer who had the fourth killer moniker that he finally squashed this time. As a coach, are you acknowledging that? Are you identifying the fact that there is a hump, or is it kind of better to like ignorance is bliss on not talking about the fact that you guys have run up against the same hurdle time and time again?
I think it's important to talk about it. I think it's also important to not overemphasize it and make it such a big deal. I think it's like, okay, we're obviously struggling here. Is it nerves? Is it our actual playstyle isn't good enough to translate into playoffs? Is it, or whatever the hump may be? Or is it just simply kind of shitting ourselves when the pressure gets to us? And are we even able to play this playstyle with pressure?
Mm.
But to big it up and make it act like this crazy thing, like all these players have gotten past it in their career. So it's irrelevant to think that this is where the line draws every single time. It's like even the US top 8 curse was crazy. People were saying it when he got top 8 with OCE. Like how far do you expect this guy to go, man? Like
Yeah.
it, he was dragging some of his teams to top 8, but people always just kind of run with that narrative and not really think about it. But
I want to talk about what you guys how the Swiss goes here. And let's start out with a team like KC. I mean, they end up winning 96% of their series on the split. You guys are the only blemish on that, keeping them off the sheets. I think a lot of us look at this team, and not only is it the mechanical prowess of all three of these players able to make high level plays on the ball, able to get themselves out of dangerous positions, they also are pressure heavy, they take a lot of boost, and they are able to have something that I noticed is the way that they layer their defense is they always have their third rotating back to grab their own big boost. So they rotate into the play with so much momentum and boost that they can just win challenges time and time again, and they can kind of pin you in your own half. That's my take on it. You as the coach preparing for a team like that, what would you say is their magic, their secret sauce? How are they able to do this to some of the best teams in the world consistently?
I mean, they're just so aggressive. Like it's very easy to fall into like the hole of just don't challenge them because it just feels like you're getting beat because of how much boost they have, how much speed they have. They're really disciplined as well. They're very frustrating where if you almost try and match them structurally, you have to really focus as third because every single time that you're basically sitting as third, they're rotating back trying to kill you every single time. Whereas like that's a basic concept, but Rocket League's not the most structured game. People don't take it as serious as they probably should. And they're just so hyper consistent. And then it helps they have Drawley. Like Drawley is just the best player in the world. He just kind of forces goals out of nothing a lot of the time. I think the only teams that really have a chance against him are teams that really challenge the ball aggressively over and over. And like against Ultimates, you didn't really see it. Furia, I think probably are over aggressive with what they do most of the time. Where you've kind of seen them hit that hurdle over and over. They just don't get past like a top four on lane.
Mm-hmm.
Who they play in uppers? NRG. It was what game 6, right?
Yep.
I didn't watch that series at all, to be honest. Like we we went out and I was like, I don't care about Rocket League. I was just there mainly with friends the rest of the day. Um, but it's hard. I even think like NRG don't even have the best matchup against them because of how defensive they've started to play. Like we felt like we really suffocated them in the first 2 games as well. So I already think that's kind of like a blemish. Vitality play very similar to NRG in my opinion, where they're willing to give the space. Vitality changed. They've at least started to just go ball chase, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
think they have the natural pieces that it works very well. Like Exotic doesn't really play that just in your face annoying Rocket League. Not obviously not in his monkey ears then, right? I don't really know who would have a good answer to KC right now. Um, we probably have one of the best. I think we've always really played well against them, even when we were losing series. But people will kind of look of, oh, you lost. But we tend to have really tight series against them. This series, especially game 2, we just let it slip, and you can't really come back from a 2-0 down against KC most of the time. I think teams will eventually click on. This kind of seems to be like what always happens with KC, where they're so dominant the first part of the year, and eventually teams adjust. And also, like they do just kind of play very similar to what in theory is perfect Rocket League. They just play like they did last year, but now they have a much better player.
And it seems like the only 2 times that they've really had fits were y'all in Open Grand Final 3 and Wild Card to start things out, where they take them really deep. And the parallels I saw between what you guys did to them and what Wild Card were able to do, and of course, a lot of it is probably Wild Card nerves or, KC nerves to start things out. But this pressure, mucking it up, getting in their face, in transition, having your third or your first rather kind of get up and get into the way of it instead of waiting for your goal line defender and getting really physical with them. You guys were playing this really scattered, chaotic kind of style, catching, backside demos and bumps and making space and playing this kind of wide, fast style, similar to like a Gen G where they're so spaced out. But then wild card, we're just getting Torsos, especially like so many bumps and physical plays. And it seems like the way to take them out of it, and it's like way easier said than done, is just to not let them settle into that like very simple
Yeah,
but effective Rocket League you're talking about.
yeah. I mean, what was it Tyson that said everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Wildcard are a weird team. They always start tournaments strong. Like it reminded me of Boston when was it Ground Zero went 2-0 up on KC and
Yeah.
then they reversed it. Yeah, I don't know. OC at the start of tournaments are always just like the biggest. Very questionable team. Like I they give you hope and then they lose, or they'll win the first round and then still go out. So no clue with them. We didn't have problems with them, but it was also a different day.
and we talked about, these mental hurdles. I mean, Fury are in this situation where what Carmine Corp were able to do to them, even when you get a little breathing room, you're so used to not having space that you kind of chuck the ball away, even if
Yeah.
you're free, like Yan and Dravinio. But with that KC team, uh, you have connective tissue to Vatira from Queso back in the day. You, of course, had Joyo from the same situation. You've coached TRK with Falcons before. Jorius was at this LAN. When you get into these matchups, I know like in the NBA or other traditional sports where it's like I've played or I've coached that team, but it's like a longer, more structured approach to like, okay, we're going to have, 120 offensive possessions or whatever. Rocket League is a lot more bang bang, so you can't like drill for specific set plays and stuff like that. Is there an advantage to having coached some players like that before, or is it just kind of like new team, different structure, you throw out what you knew before?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they really go hand in hand most of the time, to be honest. Like, what Falcons have done, especially like since I've left, like they've kept pushing what we were working on, and to whom's like really smart guy, really great guy, and we still talk a lot, and it's like what I know from them 2 years ago with two different thirds, or a different second and third.
You don't think
It's not really
Rawas and
gonna
Clears
happen.
are the same as Ahmad and Khaled? That's not.
No, no, no. And like yours, how he played with AJ and Ass is definitely different to how he's played with Stizzy and Jack. So it's like square peg and round hole from where I knew him from. And obviously, all these players keep developing. Like you'll know about the mentality of certain players, but the game changes so rapidly. Like we're still nowhere even close to the skill ceiling. The players that were good 6 months ago can be barely making regionals
Mm.
this next split. Like a team, I guarantee there's a team in the top 8 of one of the regions right now who just completely fall off next season and aren't making regionals. And it's like, well, just didn't improve mechanically like everyone else did. So I don't know if there's that much to take from it. It's more so just nice seeing all the players that I've coached, and now they're still making results. Like Rise was here, Nupa was here, TRK, all the Queso boys, Sovatur, and Choyo. It's just like God, I've been in every region.
You're the rise of coaches.
Yeah, yeah. I'll go anywhere for a paycheck.
Hey, I hear you on that. It seems like this is a better situation. I want to get back to Birmingham. I was tentative to ask about this just because poor taste in the mouth, but we touched on it briefly with the whole M80 situation from last season. Looking at it from afar, the talent was there. Was there the way that I always, and I'm trying to articulate this in a genuine way, the thing I always looked at was you clearly had the talent. And the top 8 hurdle, everybody was like, oh, that's all there is to it. I felt like that was really reductive. There was a piece of me that just kind of looked at it and it was like, look, you guys always had challenging matchups in those top eights, and it just kind of didn't fully click together. I mean, now Nas goes over, super talented young player. NIP struggle to make this one, so you can say, like, oh, maybe it's a Nas thing, or Jorius probably has the longest history of like great Swiss into playoffs, if you want to take it that way. AJ retires, you move on, JC goes and finds a new team. Like, was it just one of those things where you're banging at the door and couldn't get over the hill, or like what's your takeaway from what that situation ended up being?
Um, I think we probably should have made a roster move after split one. I had a player I wanted to
Change the
get rid
coach,
of.
you think?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Bastard had to go. Um, I had my opinion of who we should remove. JC had his opinion of who we should remove, and the org kind of had their opinions, and weren't really in a spot where we could get anyone like with buyouts and stuff. So it was rough. Um, it was frustrating. A lot of we probably should have brought in a mental coach like right from the start and worked with her because I think Michelle kept our team alive a lot longer than it should have been. I think it's hard to have 3 heartbreaks and come back from that. I think it's really hard to get over that hurdle when it's like this happens again and again, and you need that little bit of freshness. And we changed our playstyle. Uh, Probably the best example of it was the Swiss in Regional 2, where like I think we beat Gen G and G2 in that Swiss. And then we go out to Omelet. And it's like, Jesus, guys.
Solid
Like,
defensive team, Omelet. What are you gonna do?
yeah, but it's like, you can't lose that series. You can't lose to TSM in that game 7. You can't. It's just like, those are the moments that just break a team where it's like, we got gifted this. We got gifted this.
I mean,
And it,
sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
No, it's just frustrating. Like, that was definitely the most frustrating season. We were dealing with a bunch of, like, stuff from the organizational side. We were dealing with a bunch of stuff, like, in personal issues where it's like, yeah, like, Rocket League probably wasn't the priority at times, and I don't blame them for that.
Yeah.
And that didn't help either. But I think we probably overcoached them as well. I think there was probably a point where it was like, just go play. Which we tried Regional 6 and shit the bed anyway. Like, we almost went out to what? G-Man and G-Man Creed, something like that. I don't know. In that round 4
I've
of
heard there's
Swiss
some up
6,
and
and then
comers on that roster. So
yeah, up and comers who didn't make a regional next year. So
well,
yeah, it was bad.
it makes sense because like you guys splinter in 5 different directions, right? Literally everybody finds a new situation. Nas and Jorius move back across the pond. AJ calls it quits. You and JC find new teams. I even think about a similar thing where it's like the rumor is that a team like Shopify are looking to make a change around the edges, and some people are like, let's just one more is all they need. Like they're so close, and it seems like with all the historical data that we have now, usually it seems like it's more effective to make a move a split early than a split late. Like once you get that scar tissue and you have those bruises of like over and over again, you run into the same spot, I feel like it just makes it worse and worse. I mean, a tighter version of that is the first split that Gentlemates have, where you go sideways once and it's like, we're fine. And then you go sideways twice. And then the third time you just
Got blown
completely
up.
melt.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't know what the hell they're doing at Shopify. Like, that org is. They've got great people. They probably the most funding, or like second most funding in NA. I'd be very interested in, like, who's making the decisions for them.
Well,
Because, yeah, I'm very surprised they've done a lot of the things they've done, and, like, what the hell they're even doing now.
I'm surprised with your org too. You and Oolie get cut from the roster
Yeah.
the day after April Fools. But I want to talk, if I could, a little bit about Oolie because
Yeah.
for me specifically, and I think a lot of people probably have a similar perspective on it. GK, it's like, oh, Archie and Joyo and Oolie. Like everybody knows Joyo
Yeah.
and Archie, of course, the Oxygen run last season, but also like Archie and Joyo are more personalities. You've seen them on things like Chalkcast. They give the interviews. They've been around for a while.
Yeah.
They've both been the number one options for teams in the past that have been successful. And then Oolie has always been this more of like a lunch pail player who will come in and fit his role. And I feel like a lot of people don't give a lot of time or thought or consideration to Oolie as a player. What is the impact that he has on this roster?
I mean, he's hilarious, but that also may just be because he's Dutch. He's just very deadpan. But I love Oli. I started messaging Oli in like when was Worlds? Last Worlds, like August
Um,
in that range.
that sounds right.
Yeah, so I was messaging him in August. Because originally it was supposed to be Doctor No Nush and then importing a third for Mina,
Mm-hmm.
which is also why Twisted then imported because we were we were trying out Jack, Yoris, Oli, maybe one or two others that I'm probably blanking on.
I
We
did
were supposed
not
to
get a
try out
tryout,
Rise.
which was
Yeah,
frustrating, but
yeah,
I understood.
yeah. No, my DMs were closed for you,
Yeah.
unfortunately. That happens. Um, but I think that's also what kicked Twisted off. But I was very, very comfortable with getting Oolie as an option for an import. Because there's so many things off ball that he does that I just adore, and he's is probably one of the most annoying players in the game, which I love. Right, like I don't think many teams. I know KC has it. Besides that, I don't think really top teams have a player that's that annoying and that effective of just win challenges, go ball chase, and be frustrating.
Mm.
And as basic as it is, he does all the basics really, really well. And his shooting, especially some days, is just magnificent. And it's like you can harass players and you can put the ball in the net. Do I really need that much more from you? Not really. Like I have a player like Joyo who individually is going to want that space. I have a player like Oolie who can create that space and is willing to force the ball and just go and just say, all right, Archie and Joyo can do whatever they want. And then he still has that impact that it's not like certain players that can do all those things, but then they're just awful on the ball compared to everyone. He is still individually very, very good on the ball. So it's like, does he have the name? No. Does he have like the individual results over his career? Not really, but he's made top 8 at lands. He's been quite a consistent. He's won what 2 or 3 regionals. Like he gets the job done.
Yep.
He's a great person. Like I really enjoy working with him. Me and him had our frustrations like the first 2 regionals, but Ole's a really good guy. I really enjoy working with him.
He is kind of following in the footsteps of the Arsenals, the Mark by Eights, the Hawks are first split on SSGs of the world, where it's like just put so much pressure on the defense on their back line that they like are forced to make a decision really quickly and get rid of the ball. And I mean, you talked about the striking. I feel like two things that a lot of people don't really know about Oli is like A, the speed is always there, which is necessary if you're going to be like attacking the ball and winning those challenges, but also sometimes the striking with the placement. Like I even think back to a couple of those Dignitas uh, games that you guys had where it's just like, here comes Oli, full head of steam, is going to win a huge challenge off the hood of
Yeah.
somebody and just create a great situation. And if the striking is there, that's kind of all you need from him. Um, do you feel like, how do I phrase this question? You guys have developed in a positive way as the split has gone on, starting out really slow, and then you kind of ramp things up. When you're looking at the field, I mean, we even see situations where, like, now BDS just got announced with a new roster. Gentlemates are making changes around the edges. Vitality, that was the best form that we had seen from them. Carmine Corp coming back. And then there's Geekay sitting in that mix. How much of it is you look at it and you feel like you guys have a skill advantage to hang on, and how much of it is the players and that cohesion that you're talking about, where you just kind of, it's almost like an OG esports mindset where you're like, we just know that we have the experience to kind of be in the mix here.
I think we probably have one of the best team environments, which helps. Um, we're all really close. I mean, Ollie's even messaging me right now,
Me too.
talking about Formula
Yeah.
One and Fall Guys, and it's like, all right,
He's
that the
asking me to
Fall
come
Guys will
on the
get done.
podcast. I'm like, I'm busy
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now,
yeah.
Oli. Yeah.
Nah, talent wise, yeah. Team environment is probably the most important thing that obviously people don't know. Like the amount of stuff that's already gone down in the last few days of like almost roster moves and then everything fell through, and it's
Hmm.
like we're chilling.
Yeah.
We're in a good place, so we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to worry about a lot of the frustrations other teams have. Are we better than teams? Most of them, yeah. I think like the talent level does play into it a lot. Like Archie, especially on his day, is probably the best third man in Europe, and even just on paper, most people probably put him at like that 3 to 4 range anyway. Um, Joyo can just win a series on his own, and then Oli helps them. Like the reason those two can be as good as they are is because of what he offers on the pitch. So it's like there is probably that little bit of mindset of we'll just end up doing it. Because even in scrims, like we were really good coming into the season. I thought we were gonna be 2 or 3, but didn't translate at all, and a lot of those were just stupid mental battles that we shouldn't have taken.
You had talked about the importance of the team environment going into this. How how do you walk away from a Birmingham major where you talked about like every team should want to win? It's kind of like how professional athletes, like all of them think they're the best. It's like, how can you not? You have to have that mindset in order to be great. You leave Birmingham and you go out top 8, a Falcon series that you had some opportunities, but it just kind of felt like they were humming in a really great way. I mean, Colliers goes for I think 8 goals in the series. Couldn't get it going offensively, especially I remember in game 2, I think Joyo had kind of a giveaway for a goal. Archie had a giveaway from a goal. Does that have going out on a loss, which is one that you guys felt like you were more competitive in and probably felt as though you could have won that series? Like, is there any residual negative now that you have kind of a long trade window to kind of sit and marinate on it? Or do you just kind of look at it in its totality and think that it was a successful major?
Um, I think you're giving us a little bit too much credit for saying I think we could have won that series. We played like shit.
Okay,
Um,
let me rephrase my question. Hey, you guys were terrible. What happened? No.
no, like mentally, it didn't feel like we were in that series right from the start,
Yeah.
and just stupid factors. And teams can play bad on the day. That's life. But it was still adjusting to a stage after Oolie hasn't been on stage in how long? It had been what, I guess, Worlds for Archie and Joyo, but even then, the event before that, they didn't make stage. Like, we played bad. Like, it's such a cop out answer that people don't want to say, but it's like sometimes you do just play bad. Um, it's not really anything that we're sitting here like, oh, you should have done this better, because we know our level, and I think a little bit of how dominant we were in Regional 3 helps that. I think I said it like when I tweeted it. We were struggling to be a top 8 team in Europe. Now we end the split. We're top 8. We lose to KC, NRG, Falcons, which is frustrating losses. However, if you came into this tournament and said power rank the 3 best teams, not knowing anything, you say KC, NRG, Falcons. We only had one series in that range of like 5 to 9 teams of like, ooh, do they make major? And we won it. So if we go out and we go into Raleigh and we get like a top 4, top 6, win it, anything like this, it's not sitting here going, yeah, but who did you lose to? Or maybe we need to make that next step. It's obviously we're developing. Is it normal to expect how we played Regional 3 every single day? No. On paper, most people are still going to take KC, Vitality, all these teams, and we're still getting our results. So, did it come a little bit too early? Maybe, but would it be dumb to expect that we're just going to completely fall off now? Yeah. So, it's life. Bad days happen.
Bad days happen. Some series that you want back, some series that go very well. We've been talking about some of my takeaways from this is that momentum and mentality are like 2 of the most important factors at these majors. And I'm sure it's different for every team, but with this team in particular, is the momentum a game to game thing? Is it series to series? Is it day to day? Because you guys open up with Foot, and I think they probably put you more up against the ropes than you anticipated. Do you kind of shake that off and the next series is a fresh start, or like day 1 goes
Yeah.
okay? Like how are you kind of breaking out the momentum and feel of things?
Foot's frustrating. Like, people call them like 48 seed Europe, where like that's like a top 16 team in Europe. Like
Torres was
low top
hooping.
6. Yeah. Like what he was on JJ Rocks last year, wasn't he? Like, and they were like
That
or was it
sounds
or was it say I think so.
um
BK Sailing would still make regionals in Europe. Like,
DK Salen's he was he's a great passer too, able to like facilitate to the side so they can strike in. Like they're not the best defensive team in the world, but like they can give you fits. They gave a couple team fits.
I mean, they should have won versus Secret or Wild Card. Like they're okay. Um, it's an annoying first series just because of how they play, but like it's one we're always gonna win no matter what. So it's hard to be 110% in. A lot more was looking forward to if we played KC or NRG.
Mm.
So that series I kind of just take with a grain of salt. We're always gonna win. Just play it out, and we drop a game. Who cares? Like it's not there's no relevancy in dropping a game anymore. And then it turns to I think a lot of our momentum kind of comes game by game. Um, of just it's happened in a lot of teams, and I've noticed this so much, and I don't know if it's a me problem or just this game as a whole, but it takes one moment that everyone then switches on.
Mm.
Usually it's like a great goal. Sometimes it can be holding out on defense for like 20, 30 seconds, like low boost, and it's just like that breakout, and then everything comes out of like, all right, now we're into it. But that's where KC are so good because they're just dominant, 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 dominant from like the first second. It's like Jesus. Like if you let them get into a series at all, and to be fair, when we won, we didn't. We were really, really dominant that game one. We went up 2-0 up early. And then the same thing happened at the major. We go 2 up early, but then it just silly, silly things. We let them back into the game. If we hold on that game one, maybe it's a different series, especially with the struggles they had earlier in the day. But you never know, right? Because they were just that good.
I think they're like the other thing about them. You talked about you can't go down 2-0 in goals against them because they just will not let you come back. I think they're like 40-6 when they score the first goal or something like that, dominant. But um, I was going to ask about, I need to stop looking at my notebook because I'm like, oh, I have all these questions for Nick. Um, you had said that you were kind of looking past Foot and interested in seeing what the next team is going to be. The thing about Swiss is that you kind of don't know who you're going to be going up against. So in the lead up, are you preparing for individual opponents that you think you might be running into, or is it more working on your own stuff and how you'll implement that? Like, how do you strike the balance between prepping for the other teams and then prepping for yourself? Maybe you scratch that itch
I
just with
mean,
scrims.
round two, you can usually tell who you're gonna play, right? Because especially as an 8 seed, you're basically locked into the 1 seed unless there's upsets, and then
Mm-hmm.
goes 2-3. And I'm a bracket nerd anyway. That's why everyone calls me rulebook. So, like I had every scenario planned out of like realistically, I knew our first 2 rounds like in every scenario with all the upsets possible. So like once we got to 2-1, it's like that's when you have no idea what's going on because we were supposed to play Gen G if Luminosity lost to Wildcard, and we were like, all right, that should be a free win. And then it's the same thing if it should be a very doable win, and somehow Luminosity made round 5, so good for them.
Yeah.
Uh, and it screwed everyone's brackets up. But because of them doing well, it screwed our boot goals. Because if Foot beats Secret, we are in a so much better spot. Because of the boot goal system, and it's like frustrating at times. Because I mean, we heard that series going on, a Foot and Secret. Like we were warming up, or we just got in, and we're just hearing VK say the next was scream every goal. Hilarious. And we're like, oh my god, they're gonna win. Like this is Africa's first win on land. Like how the hell are they gonna post this?
They
Like,
had to, Secret had to reverse sweep, if I remember
yeah,
correctly.
they did.
Um,
Yeah,
Weird situation with that team
weird
too, where
series.
like KV1 and Mata time and time again end up making these majors, and then they KV1 especially seems like one of those players, and I'm projecting of course, but it seems like he's one of those guys where series are kind of decided before you even get onto the pitch. Like if he sees Carmine Corp on the other side, if he sees a Vatira nameplate, it's like, okay, we're not going to be winning this one. Where I think there's some other teams who kind of like a Dignitas, they end up going out, or Twisted Minds don't have a great event. But like I feel like there's some teams where they're just like they believe in their play style and the fact that they can beat anybody. Uh,
Yeah.
Secret doesn't seem like they're one of those rosters right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably us. Is whatever we do, we believe in what we're doing. Of just try not to adjust. Most of our prep is not like, oh, let's adjust this because that's what we're trying in regional 1 and 2, and it just didn't work for us. And that was probably a mistake in me and my coaching style. And it's like, okay, we have our base. Let's play like that. Let's be comfortable in what we're doing. Let's understand that it's all about replicability and then execution rather than just change this, change this, change this. It just doesn't work for us. Some teams it'll work, but I think the majority of top coaches will tell you now it's just you're confident, you're comfortable in what you do, and you're confident in your ability to execute it rather than changing it. Maybe you change 1 or 2 things, but it just doesn't work like that for some teams.
It seems like distilling it down and making it as simple as possible is actually effective. You would assume that you would come in and be like, I'm the coach, therefore I need to show my worth, earn my paycheck, and have all of these different ways of going about doing things. You've been coaching since 2020. How is your approach different now than it was at the start?
Some teams are different in what they need, right? And God knows I've been on enough teams. Um, with Queso, it was very much just get them mentally there because we understood the mindset that we wanted to have and how we wanted to play.
Super young team.
Yeah. Whereas, like, even going back to Dig was a very, both iterations were very structurally intense because with yours, Jack, and Scrub, we just sucked. And we were just trying to get it over the line because our team environment sucked. We all hated each other. We had all agreed we were blowing up after, or even before EWC. There was no chance any of us stuck together. Like, we were, yes, it was Gamers 8 at that point. It just didn't work. We despised each other as teammates, not as friends. We could get along outside the server, but as a team, dear God, it was awful. Then Andy Evo Drees, well, I guess Delta Drees, but Delta was kind of always there as a placeholder, and he understood that, and he got paid well for it, so he didn't complain. Um, Whereas like that Andy Evo Drees team, like I was calming for Evo because he didn't do it properly, and I was having to instruct him what to do in game. Do I need to do that with someone like Archie or Joyo? No. So when I came in, I instantly try and implement these things, and at some point, it's like these guys got top 6 at Worlds. They're veteran players that have constantly gone deep in lands, deep in online events. I don't need to tell Ronaldo how to take a free kick. You know?
Yeah.
He obviously does what works. So it's a lot more massaging egos, making sure arguments don't happen, making sure that we're in the right mindset. Yeah. And it sounds boring, and it's like, oh, coaching's irrelevant. But you still have to manage superstars. Like, that it's almost a management type thing rather than just pure coaching.
For sure. I think about like one of the best to ever do it. Like Phil Jackson has this book called 11 Rings. And
Yeah.
I opened it being like, oh, like he's going to tell us about like the triangle offense. And almost all of what he's talking about is being intentional and knowing how to push the right buttons for your superstars to not superstar themselves into like a diva situation. Like that was the big
Yeah.
part of the book, which surprised me. But it makes sense, right? Like all these players know that they are in the top percentile of the world. So keeping that in check has got to be really important and challenging.
Yeah, I think Ferguson's book is pretty much the same thing of just. I mean, if you watch soccer, like Carlo Ancelotti, that's always the guy of. He never has tactics, but his teams always win. And it's just a good dude, good old dude. But it works for them, so who am I to judge?
When you come into this situation, and they're all different, right? Like you know, different teams have different needs structurally, where they're at in their careers. When you came into this situation, was it was your initial approach to give your feedback on what needs to happen, or is it more making space and allowing the players to kind of talk to one another? Like I'm curious, it's nuanced, but like as a coach,
Yeah.
like how can you be impactful to be within the container that the team needs you to be in?
Nah, I overcoached the first two regionals. I tried to do a little bit too much. I think we found a good balance in regional two. And then we just choked in that 100% series. We just capitulated.
Which is a
And
team that is very, very good in overtimes, take them there all the time, deep series. Like, it's a respectable loss. 100% is a good team, you know?
it's a respectable loss, but like it's a respectable loss for a team in the top eight. If our goal is to be majors, that's not series you can drop, right? Like, I don't know, that's always kind of the most annoying thing of like, oh, it's a respectable loss. It's like, yeah, depending on where your goals are. Like, 100% in a team, if you're getting them for a top six, you're like, I'll take that.
Yeah,
Like that's fine. I would say Nip is a more respectable loss, like in regional one, but
sure.
we got battered. We got beat. Um, but yeah, I think I did too much. I think they probably overthought a lot of things. This was kind of the frustration of we didn't even sign them until halfway through December, and then every team goes on break. So
Mm,
we had like 2 weeks of scrims, whereas every team had 2.5 months. And people also don't look at that. So we were playing catch up, and because we were playing catch up, I probably did way too much trying to like bridge that gap of what should take a month or a month and a half in process is taking 4 days. And it's like it just doesn't work like that. And sometimes you just get that wrong as a coach. And also, if it's going well in practice and then it doesn't translate to tournament, you don't know until it doesn't translate to
sure.
tournament. And then you're like, huh, now I have to try another thing. But because the only other thing is RLCS, you just have to keep trying stuff in RLCS. Like, I think during regional two, like Archie and Oolie kept tweeting like test week because that's what I kept saying. We're just testing stuff. We're testing stuff. In the qualifier, and I think in that qualifier we went 9-0 against every team but KC, and then we went 3-1 loss to them, and I still think we probably played a pretty good series. So I was like, okay, we're on the right page, and then
And
shut the
it ends
bed.
up
It's
happening.
like, well, then you scale everything back and you see what works, and what worked happened in regional three.
Who do you admire, have respect for in the coaching world? Who does a very good job? Because there's some situations like Farah where the results speak for themselves, but also he's been in a situation to be surrounded by uber talented players.
Yeah.
Maybe it's one of those things where, like we talked about, managing those relationships is what makes him so valuable. Or maybe there's a coach around the edges where you look at them getting more out of the sum of their parts than you would anticipate. Who do you think does a really good job?
Uh, the first name that pops in my head is Sathu, which sounds a bit stupid, but it's like the amount of heartbreaks they've had on LAN. I talked to them. I'm like, I'm surprised you guys didn't make a roster move. Like, I don't know how mentally you get back after like going out top two, going winning an event, then top two, and especially top two in the fashion they had, and now a top six. It's like, does it come a little bit too late with the roster move now? I don't know. I think individually, like Daniel's still the best player now. So even if they fall off, their fall off's the top six.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Um, better than the sum of their parts.
While you think, I feel like NRG
Yeah.
are in a similar spot to Furia where it's like, but what is, even if you want to have that thought experiment, what is the move? What is something that will
Yeah.
be a more than lateral move for a roster like that? Like Fury is in the same situation. Even if you keep banging your head against a top four, top six finish where you run over Sam and then you absolutely blitz through Swiss and then you are going out in the same spot every time, what is the move that you're going to make? Like
Yeah.
NRG are in a similar kind of situation. I feel like, I mean, Falcons is a team that feel pretty stuck as well, even if it goes terribly. Like, what are you gonna, what, you're gonna split up the twins, or you're gonna get rid of TRK, which just like seems crazy. Some of these top
I mean,
teams, it's like the
yeah.
best bad place to be in because you're continuously placing really highly, but you're kind of you're struggling from success. You're just kind of stuck because
Yeah.
of the talent that you have.
Yeah. Uh, I guess underrated coach. I thought about it more. Guaysom having to manage an international roster, especially where you're talking about like who do you get if you're like a Falcons or Furia? Like it's hard
Yeah.
dealing with all the cultural differences. I mean, he's taking care of like a 16-year-old that moved over to the U.S. Complexity is not one events, but they've been a pretty historically like a consistent. They make lands for their salary, especially like they overachieve compared to a lot of teams. Genji is the same. Like they've worked so hard. I doubted their philosophy. I thought they should have made the roster move. I think it is so insanely hard to kick someone and then bring them back and actually have it work. I was
Yep.
like, Jesus Christ, like how the hell have they done that? Um, I would say probably Greg and Kevin Aguasom are the two. The more I think about Bruno Visky's also quite good. He's overachieved in a lot of lands. I just think Secret's playstyle is just miserable now. Like they've kind of gone in the wrong direction of like they had that great run at Rotterdam with how
Mm-hmm.
defensive they played. And it kind of felt like they tried to actually be a real team. And it's like, do you have the parts to be able to compete? Probably not. So maybe don't try and go over the top of aggression. It's like doesn't work. Same thing like Chiefs, man. Chiefs were so dominant in scrims to ever. We didn't scrim them. I heard everyone tell me
Really?
Chiefs were like god tier, and then they go out 16, and it's like okay, obviously something's not clicking there, and that's where it's like some coaches definitely get the best out of their teams like in the moment, and sometimes it's just being a miserable play style and having to be incredibly pragmatic. Where some coaches I think try and go a little bit too bold, and it's like sometimes you have to know the sum of your parts. Like we made major with Dig, right? We were awful online, right? That's fine. We had our own team environment stuff that our team pretty much blew up after the second regional. Like didn't make
Is
the
this
major.
our Andy iteration or the former?
Yeah. Well, I didn't make a major with the former, so 0-1. Yeah, we knew we could not take it to teams. So all we did was sit in that and counterattack. But we made the major, and we were in a world spot. So who cares, right? Like we knew the sum of our parts.
It seems like because you talked about Rotterdam and that team secret roster, and one of my big takeaways from that event was like KV1 is so good defensively. His intuitive read of the play and being able to be in the right spot. And then you look at the stats from last season, and KV1 is like one of the highest usage goal scorers in the entire world, not just South America. And it's like, I guess he's kind of developing, but I guess they try and bring in Mata, who is in service of that more offensive play style. Of course, Swift is one of the young mechanical wizards that seems to always pop up. But yeah, I feel like the Genji situation was a tough one as well, and it's been difficult for me to kind of understand how I feel about them because the pros and cons list both are so long and there's so much history where it's like, well, I really like this about what they do, but this doesn't kind of work. Yeah, I have a lot
Yeah.
of respect for what Greg has been able to do with that situation for sure. But major as a whole, what were your big surprises, positive or negative, whether it be teams or players? What stood out?
Stizzy looked like a beast.
Yeah,
Stizzy was really damn good. I think the negative was getting rid of the matchup and uppers to decide who's fourth seed, who's fifth seed. I think that was stupid. I think just instantly put 3-2 like uppers and then have 4 and 5 play.
mm,
I don't really like that. Um, Falcons underperformed. NRG even going out top four, it feels like an underperformance.
agreed. Their offense was stagnant.
Um, I mean complexity going 1-3, but their bracket was rough.
They looked
Dig,
good though in some
Secret,
of those
Furia,
losses.
Twisted. Yeah, I mean that's just a shit bracket. Like I don't know. I guess Chiefs would be underperforming. OC as a whole sucked. Like
Yep.
that's bad.
The double
Like
exit to Luminosity is not good.
game five against Foot, not great. Ultimates looked unreal, which they weren't converting in scrim. So fair enough.
Hey, you talked about a
Well, I
moment.
was gonna say scrims mean nothing. Like that's all it is. Scrims mean nothing to 95% of teams.
I mean, hey, you talked about
Because
a moment like that Ultimates team, like being able to beat that Falcons roster.
yeah,
That was like, oh man, like here we go. They kind
they're
of
here.
carried that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or the beating Vitality just as much. It's like, oh, like they're here, and I think they kind of rode that against NRG. And it's just like I don't know. Taking anything from scrims is pointless because if you win, you go, oh yeah, we're playing well, and it's like if you lose, it's just scrims. Who cares? And half the teams chalk scrims anyway after like 4 or 5 games. So it's like, what do we really get from this? Like,
Just
I
staying
don't know.
loose, you know?
Just playing the game.
Yeah. Hey, that's Furia. They had the season 18 or whatever started like what, a week and a half before. They had like 1,300 ranked twos games between the three of them coming in. I was like, that is playing the game, that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Like those guys are always grinders at LAN, and their individual talent is insane. It always felt like they were due to win a LAN, but like just haven't. Like they haven't really looked close to winning a LAN either.
Nick, I've kept you an hour and 5 minutes already. As we start to wind down, from your position, what are you interested in watching as we head towards Raleigh? If you had a magic 8 ball that you could shake and learn the fates of one of the teams out there, who are you most intrigued to see how they look in the second split?
I mean, probably us, but um,
You aside, that's cheating.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm so curious about NA. I'm so curious about the SSG roster,
Ooh,
like especially with Kofer. Like they're just chaos, man. Like they should be making land, but will they? I don't like. Same thing with complexity because I think they're common in Spanish. Like Frosty first international roster. I don't know if he's in the team house. Diaz is like 16.
mm-hmm.
Like that is a hard situation, man. I'm curious about them.
And I guess they're keeping the roster because before the season, it looked like this was the last hurrah. And then they were going to be orgless. Complexity were going to kind of pull out of the situation and try and hand them over. But now they're sticking. And I hadn't even considered till
What's
you
in the
said
game?
it. Yeah, like what's the situation with Frosty? Because they're in the team house in Miami, right? So I wonder if he's going to
Yeah,
be playing from home or what. That's another really interesting situation.
yeah. I mean, NA is always more interesting because it's just a shit show. It's just chaos. Europe, I think you probably have the defined big six of like who makes major.
Is BDS going to be in that mix?
No, they'll probably be top 8, but I think those players have one more split, and then next season they'll all be really good. But I don't know. I'm a big Nico believer. I think the kid's disgusting. Jack is probably the biggest Mitzer believer I've ever seen.
Mm.
Um, I think he's good. I don't think he's like you need to pick him up now. I think in tournament especially he still struggles quite a bit. Like he has the young player tendencies where he just makes plays and you're like, what the hell are you doing? But he also makes a lot of positives to kind of balance that out. So once he irons out the bonehead issues where you're
Mm.
like, Jesus, bro, he'll be a top player. Like he'll be very, very good. He'll be in that top 8, top 6 contention. And then Juke's their third, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean that dude, that Ascend team was so annoying.
Oh
That's
yeah.
so damn annoying, bro. They played omelet ball. They sat in net and prayed.
That he's
It
you
worked
you
though.
want to talk about a grinder too. Juke is always up there for sure. Metzer was, I'm not mistaken, was Save the Games third, right?
Yeah,
With
yeah, it was
Astral and
him,
Extra.
Astral, and
As
extra.
as
Yeah,
far as players who there's a lot of buzz and hype around, Mitzer is probably the player in that group that I've watched the least. So I'm
yeah.
interested to see what they look like. Um, Nick, I'm gonna be at Raleigh, second major of my life. I'm excited to see you
Hopefully, me
there.
too.
I'm excited to see you there. I'll if you guys need a substitute, maybe if anything's
Mm.
going wrong, feel free to bring me up on stage. I'm better than you might think,
Yeah, I
or
like that.
much
That's good.
worse, depending on what you think my talent level is. Um, but I definitely will, contribute to a positive team environment. And if we get scored on, don't worry, I'll be giving out fist bumps
Yeah,
all
you can
around.
read out the stats of why we got scored on. Perfect.
Hey, finally something for me to do that is helpful. I appreciate your time. Your information is going to be connected to this video as we get out of here. Is there anything that you want to say to the people listening?
Thank you. I had a lot of criticism before this season, and a lot of my guys did too. So it's nice to see the positive comments until the April Fool's joke, and then everyone's like, "Thank God he's gone." So
I'm glad that yeah, sorry for all of my burner accounts. I was really
yeah,
really talking a
you
lot
stood
of
up for me, to be fair,
took in
instantly. I was like, "Damn."
I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. So it was a good thing that it was a late April Fool's because I was beside myself. But Nick, I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining me on the weekend and hanging out with me. And maybe we'll have you on again after Raleigh to kind of decompress.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on.